not lost. Why? Because God spends the rest of all of history trying to get us back in the garden. Why? Because he loves us so much. And he created us to love us so that we could love him back. That's what Paul and I are going to talk about through the rest of June. How do we get back to the garden? And it's all God's doing. That's what we're going to find out. It's all God's doing. So today, this is probably the hardest thing. I can't believe I'm going to say this. This will be the hardest thing I've ever asked you to do as you leave the sanctuary today. I want you to imagine that we're being kicked out of the garden. And in whatever door you go out, look back at it today and imagine a cherubim standing there and a giant flaming sword going back and forth saying, you can't get back in. Oh. But do you know whose heart breaks even more when we leave? God's. That was never God's intention. It was never God's intention to kick us out of the garden. But because of our decisions, we leave, and that God spends the rest of, how can I get you back? You want back, don't you? Me too. So all is not lost when we walk out those doors today and you look back. But I just want us to wrap our heads around what happened that day in the garden, and whose heart is truly broken more than ours is God's. So he walks with us. Even as we exit the garden, God walks with us, trying to figure out how to bring us home again. So when you leave today, look back at the door, and let's go into that week wrestling with that decision and that door closed behind us. And then, remember, all is not lost. Will you pray with me?